Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I am your host, Tina Dawson, the owner of True Blue Designs, and it is truly an honor to be before you this evening. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share and let everyone know that we are on the air. We are streaming live on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel at True Blue Designs. Now, the month of March is very, very important to True Blue Designs, and it's because it's our anniversary month. So this March, we will be celebrating 13 years of being in business, and we have a month-long treat in store for you. Last year, we had the Greek comedy tour. Christopher Columbus is the founder, and he lined up a whole month of comedians, and he's going to be back again this March. I'm not going to tell you who's coming. You got to tune in to see it, but we are going to have a treat in March. So, as many of you may know, I have been taking up bass lessons for the last year and a half, 2 years. And I am so excited to introduce to you my music teacher tonight. So you all are in for a treat. Tonight's guest grew up in a rhythmic environment and has performed all over the world. His music can be streamed on Spotify, Apple Music, and on YouTube. Derwin really believes that you're not too old to learn something new. Please help me give him some love in the comment section, but help me give a warm welcome to my music teacher and Paradygm recording artist, Mr. Derwin Daniels. Hey, Derwin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Good.
Yes, I told you my producer is she's not here today. So we're gonna make it do what it do.
Cool.
Thank you for saying yes, for allowing me to interview you. I've been trying to get you on the show for a minute.
Thanks for having me. This is good. I know this is another side of you that we get to see you doing your show, and I'm proud of you for holding it together.
Thank you. I just wanted to create a platform where people can, tell the viewers who they are, what they do, and give the inside perspective of what they know, right? And This is a good platform for them to do it on. And also, our YouTube channel is used as a resource hub. So, a lot of times people are looking for information on a variety of different topics, and I just lead them right back to our YouTube channel because it has a volume of information for people to reference.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be in the volume.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to start off the interview by allowing you to tell the viewers about yourself.
About myself. Well, coming up, I started up playing music, and as a kid, really as a youngster, probably about the age of 6, my dad gave me a clarinet.
Okay.
And there was a guy that was studying at Juilliard School of Music, and he was playing the clarinet, the B-flat clarinet. He's playing the straight clarinet, and he got frustrated trying to play a line. He threw the clarinet against the wall, cracked it, broke it.
Wow.
My dad was able to get that horn. He got it and glued it back together and gave it to me. Said, "Here you go. Here's some reeds. Go ahead and play." So I started playing the clarinet, and at about that age. Before that, we had a piano that was at the house, and I could, tap some stuff when I was a little kid and play little songs I heard. But once I got the clarinet, me and my younger brother, we'd march around the backyard playing songs we heard on the radio and doing stuff. Could not read a lick of music, but I could just play.
Really?
Yeah, I could just play. But when I got a little bit older, I wanted to play football. So we get to middle school, we called junior high back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So, and growing up, I grew up in Texas, Beaumont, Texas. So of course I wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys. I wanted to be the running back, right? So
Really?
she said, "Go get in the band. You ain't playing. You're not playing football." I mean, I played up to a point, and she said, "Look, you're not gonna have the size. You know, look at me, your dad, da da da." And so I went on and got in the band, and I started learning how to read music at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what I didn't tell the audience also is my dad was a musician.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's a saxophone player who played in the Navy band.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in the Navy band during the World War II era. He joined
Mm-hmm.
from Lake Charles, Louisiana. He wound up going into the band in the Navy. When he came out, he met my mother and came out, and he moved to Beaumont. And that's the rest history. You know, we have brothers, sisters, and everybody else. And so I'm number 5 of 6 of us.
Okay.
But the getting back in the band, I was like, okay, I got in and I started learning to read and all that kind of stuff. But let's move forward. Talking about football real quick. When I looked at the running backs from the era, you know, the Emmitt Smiths, the Barry Sanders, all these guys, they were my size. I was like, I could have been that running back. But yeah, so I mean, I was playing clarinet, but later I wound up getting into drums and playing drums because my younger brother was a drummer.
Okay.
We had a drum set around the house, so I got a chance to play and do some things and on drums. And I started playing with local bands too.
Mm-hmm.
Both me and my brother shared that drum set, and we were able to go out and start playing. And there were several bands. And back then, it was everybody wanted to play. We had almost in every little block or two, you had people trying to learn instruments.
Okay.
So they could play because it was the band thing was happening. And I don't know if that happens as much now. But we all, because people are taking the music from the computers and doing some other things, you know.
Right.
But that was my intro into playing music and, you know, doing my studies in school and that kind of thing.
Okay. So where did you go to school at after high school?
Well, I started, well, I when I was in high school, I started playing with Barbara Lynn. Barbara Lynn had a song that was out called If You Lose Me, You Lose a Good Thing in the 60s. It was a big hit. She was on American Bandstand, all the other shows back in the day.
Wow.
She's a friend of my sister, my oldest sister. And so I toured. And I was playing every weekend. So talking about getting out of high school, I had to struggle to get out of school.
Wow.
Yeah, I was I fell way behind, had to take night classes, summer classes to graduate with my class.
And that's because you were touring?
Well, I did tour with Barbara Lynn. But the rest of them were just kind of local gigs, but they were 2-3 hours off. I missed school probably every Friday and every Monday. I don't know how playing with bands in other cities and stuff. So I struggled to get out, but I did have a scholarship that I went and begged for at Texas Southern University in Houston. So I left high school, went to Texas Southern University.
Okay.
But before that, I took a test to become a firefighter while I was still in high school. I said, I might need that little backup, you know?
Yeah.
So I get to Texas Southern and I play in a band. I'm actually in the drum section. And they were doing quite a bit of hazing and stuff back then.
Okay.
So I got into it with some folks at a football game, and we got into some tussles and stuff like that, especially when you get with, you know, in there when they call you crab and you're a freshman and all that kind of stuff. My mom said, well, you know, the fire department's calling you. So I didn't stay at Texas Southern long. I didn't stay long. I wound up leaving and became a firefighter in my hometown of Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
At the age of 18 years old.
Wow. So tell us about that experience of being a firefighter.
Yeah. So going in, I know I needed to take care of myself. And I felt like the greatest gift I can give my parents would be to take care of myself.
Right. That's good.
Yes. I go in, go through the training. I get out and I fight fire. I mean, I'm riding the engines. I'm working 24-hour shifts and doing the other stuff that, you know, firefighters do. With about 3-4 years in, the fire chief there, he came and said, look, Daniels, how would you like to become a fire inspector? So I said, yeah, I'll try that. He said, yeah, because you can always go back on shift. When I heard that, I was like, because the 24-hour shift was, I like working
Yeah.
that. You know, when you're young, you don't realize all the danger. I mean, I'm grabbing the hoses, I'm going in, just putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, you know,
Right.
in the building. It was fun. I mean, it's fun to me. So I did that and went through, became a fire inspector where I would go around with the white shirt on and all this stuff. So I had to present because I'm going in businesses and telling people fire safety things to do, going to do the school fire drills, hospitals, and make sure they were meeting code and doing all this. So I was learning a lot. But the whole time, the fire department also paid for me to work on an associate's degree in fire protection technology.
Okay.
So I went in, and some places call it fire science. So I went in and took fire science classes and got through doing those. About a year into being an inspector, they said, how would you like to be a fire investigator?
Oh, wow.
So the fire investigator, which, sometimes people call them arson investigators, but it was more of a, we say the term fire investigator because all fires are not arson, but you still need to determine the cause.
Right.
So we go in and I would go into fires. I was looking at about 100 fires a year.
100?
About 100 that I was investigating myself. And there were other investigators, but, me personally, I would look at about 100 a year. Wow. Some of them could be just kitchen curtains or something on fire. I mean, it wasn't where the whole thing was just burned to crisp or nothing. But, and I started realizing that I could get into a lot of different things. We even had a fire department band. That's when I started playing saxophone again. I started playing more instrument. Well, we had our band, and I started playing. I also became a scuba diver with the fire department. I was on the dive rescue team, but it's more of I think I would call it a dive retrieval. Because by the time we set up, put all our tanks, all our gear, those people drowned. They've been down there for a while. And so I would go down, and bodies usually go down to the bottom. And and we had a lot of bodies of water. I'm on the Gulf Coast, so it's a lot of bodies of water there. Lakes, streams, rivers, and so I would go.
When they fill up, don't they float to the top?
Usually after when a person drowns, they go to the bottom, and they stay there for could be 2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay.
Once the gases and everything starts to expand within the body, then they float up.
Okay, gotcha. So that's why they don't float to the top. It'll be a couple of days before they. Okay.
Days later. Yeah, we getting into some gross stuff, huh?
Well, it's interesting.
I mean, in the water, some of it was dark. If you closed your eyes and did this, it was like you couldn't see anything. Put a flashlight,
wow.
So I just go down and feel my way. And I didn't realize in the county I grew up in, Jefferson County, which is Beaumont is in there. I remember reading an article said there were over 400,000 alligators in that county. And I was thinking, because I remember one night they called me it's about midnight, 1 a.m. Come on, we got a person drowned close. It wasn't too far off the bank, so we did our search pattern off the bank instead of going doing our search pattern. When I pull up, I see a guy take a stick, and there's about 3 feet of snake on either side of this stick. I was like, I told the chief, I said, Chief, I got sinus issues. I'm not gonna be able to. So that night I didn't dive. I just helped them do some rope stuff and whatever else. I saw them snakes out there. I was like, I ain't getting in that water.
Oh wow, that is amazing. Because it sounds like you took advantage of a lot of the opportunities. In the fire department.
Exactly. And when I taught classes, because I used to teach fire management and all that at Perimeter College, I taught at Lamar University down in Beaumont too, the Institute of Technology. So the same program I went through, I wound up being the coordinator. After I finished school, got my associates, I went to University of Houston and finished a bachelor's and a master's degree.
Okay.
But I taught at Lamar University, and I trained firefighters in the same program that I'd gone through. And I would tell them, take full advantage of everything that this experience has to offer. I did all that. I went to the National Fire Academy up in Emmitsburg to study. That's where I did my fire investigation training. with people from all over the country, studying there and doing that type of work. And you could go into so many areas within the fire service, like hazardous materials. You can get into ropes and rappelling, and the list goes on to different things. I even got into some PR, public relations, where like public information officer, the news media shows up at the fire scene. I'm the investigator, so they say, "Hey, talk to him."
Okay.
Then I talk to the news media, when there was a fire scene and things like that. Yeah. But that was the experience after high school, was doing that. But what I did, and the reason I brought up touring with Barbara Lynn, because we went to LA. I was in Los Angeles for a while. And at the time, Motown had moved from Detroit to California.
Okay.
And she was working on doing a deal with Motown. So we were playing in California during that summer when I was there. And we performed a lot around Hollywood and other places. And I was playing drums. But it was a few days there where the front of my stomach met the back of my stomach. We couldn't eat. I didn't have the money to eat. So I remember calling home at about 15, 16 years old and saying, "Hey, Mom, I'm hungry." And so think about your kids being that far away and calling in, "I'm hungry." She said, "Let me send you a ticket. You can come on home." But I didn't want to leave the band.
Right.
So what I did was, after that experience, I know we got back and she was going to Australia or somewhere. She said, "Hey, you want to come with me to Australia?" I was like, "No, we'll finish high school and do that." But so I kept a job and played music.
Okay.
I kind of did them both. So some people say you get to that crossroad, you're gonna go one way or you're gonna go the other. I just picked up the thing and just moved the whole thing.
You move both of them in the same direction.
It's moving both down. So I played music and I worked. But
so how did you get from Texas to Atlanta?
Okay. Yeah. I finished graduate school. I met my wife, Keisha.
Okay.
I met Keisha. She was in my hometown of Beaumont when I met her. She moved to Shreveport doing the news.
Okay.
And it was at the CBS affiliate in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I headed to the West Coast. I was going to get me a gig and to get on the show, to travel. I'm through with school. I'm going, But I was out in LA, and the cost of living is very expensive in LA.
Yeah, very.
It's real expensive. So I saw that, and we've been talking a lot. And I came back, and we got engaged, and I got married. And we were in Shreveport, Louisiana at the time.
Okay.
So, I did some odd jobs, did some work around in Shreveport, played gigs with great musicians there too. But I took the job with the fire management program it was Georgia Perimeter College at the time.
Okay, so that's what you were teaching when you were at Georgia Perimeter. Okay.
Cab College, but I went Georgia Perimeter, and I was doing emergency management too later, Homeland Security emergency management, which kind of fit in this protective services area, So that's what brought me here. Keisha was able to get out of her contract at the CBS affiliate there. She came here. That's when we moved, and she came here too and started working at CNN.
Yeah. Because I remember when we used to when we used to take our vacations, and we would go down to Miami, and we would turn it on at 11 o'clock, and we would say, "There's our neighbor," and we would just film it and watch it. It was a treat to see her on the television.
Yeah. Oh, look, I remember being in a bar in downtown Atlanta with some fellas, and we all sitting around the bar, and somebody said, "That's that guy's wife on TV." So
it was a treat. I know her.
Yeah.
Wow. So even when you came here to Atlanta, you still picked them both up and continue to move them, right? Because as long as I've known you being a musician. Right. I knew you worked at Georgia Perimeter. Didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
But I knew you worked at Georgia Perimeter, but the main thing I knew about you was your love for music and the fact that you were a musician.
Yeah, and I'd done some recordings and stuff too, And I got to say, you know, growing up, I had like with my godfather, he's a plays clarinet, bass, guitar, and his son, who's my god brother, we played a lot of gigs together and did a lot of stuff. And we had bands that we were playing with and everything. And I tell you, I remember we were learning "Can We Talk" by Tevin Campbell.
I know that song.
Okay, can we talk? Right. So we're learning it. I'm like, by then I was playing little keyboards. So I thought about it. It's something hit me that night, and it's, you know, it was like, I've been playing music longer than Tevin Campbell has been alive at the time. He was 16.
Right. Wow.
And I said, I'm learning his stuff.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And so I just said, you know what? I'm gonna write my own music. I'm gonna record my own stuff. You know, I started thinking about it because I mean we were playing a lot of Frankie Beverly, we were playing, you know, just a whole bunch of whole stuff. I said, but when people want to hear Frankie Beverly, I mean, it's cool that we can play it, but they're gonna go hear Frankie Beverly do his stuff.
Right.
And so at that point, I said, I'm gonna write and perform my own music.
Now, is that when you created the Paradygm Records?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had another little label. I wish I should show you this. I had a little 45 little record that I did. It was, but the label was called Derwin's Theory at the time.
Derwin's Theory. All right.
Yeah, whatever. So I started. I got me a soprano sax, and my dad, his horn, his tenor, I got from my mom. She said, "Come get your dad's horn."
Oh wow.
And he passed away, and I got his tenor, and I started practicing and playing in church in Houston, and just practicing a lot more. And I got me a soprano sax and started practicing. Matter of fact, let me see. Of course, Keeson brought me a picture. This is my dad's, but that's.
Oh wow.
I don't know, let me see where the microphone is. I mean,
yeah, I can see it.
That's him with the tenor sax and the glasses on.
Oh, that's your dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So every time you look at that instrument or play it, you know, that's like you're staying connected with him.
Yeah, and it's funny when I went to I remember getting off the plane in Japan. And I grabbed that tenor sax and I said, "Come on, man, let's go. You done made it to Japan."
You done made it to Japan.
Yeah, so I took his horn and, you know.
Wow.
And I performed there, and we did Tokyo, and we did what other cities? Let me see. But I know it's a place called Billboard Live, I think, where we were playing in Japan. They had several of them in different cities, and we were going to play. And
wow.
Yeah. So I started picking up the saxophone more and playing it, studying. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always with you, Derwin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, if I could just get to playing about like he was, I mean, I'd be something else.
Look, it's coming. You're doing pretty good. Look, you're teaching little bitty old me.
And look, you know, your audience, I guess they need to know you are doing an outstanding job, Tina.
Well, thank you.
She's reading the notes, picking the birds off them, I call it, reading chord progressions, playing by ear, playing, you know, Grover Washington tunes, playing Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes, playing, you know, and reading. Oh. So when you read, you can read anything. I'm really impressed with with what you've been doing on the bass with the instrument, and you got it as natural. I mean, when you playing, I start seeing you groove on and stuff. And now let me tell you, she's going out playing with bands, you know. That's really good.
Look, you got me blushing. Well, you know, I thank you because, you know, as a music teacher, it's so funny since you mentioned it, we're going to tell the story. So I called Derwin and I turned, at the time I was 52, and I called you and I said, you know, I need a favor. And I said, you know, I want to learn how to play the bass. And you said, well, oh, okay. And I said, I want you to be my music teacher. And you kept saying, I'm not a bass player,
I'm not a
but
bass.
I'm willing to help you. And you bought a book, and we've been going through that book. But you're not the average music teacher, because our music lessons have been predominantly outside of the book, and you have encouraged me to expound and go out. And sometimes they say women want to be nosy. Well, this is a good example where being nosy is good, right? And you have given me different class assignments for me to go and look at different videos. And Thunder Soul, if anybody says what, you got to see the story Thunder Soul.
Thunder Soul, yeah.
You got to see that. Yeah. And so we know a mutual friend, Corey and Staten, and I was telling him about my assignment. Well, he called me a couple of weeks later and he told me he watched Thunder Soul.
Yeah.
And he was happy that he watched it. He had never heard of it. And it was really good. But let me just say this. We're going to jump to this. You brought this up. What would you say to people who are, let's just say, over 50, right? And COVID has put us in a situation where we've had to do a lot of reflecting, right? Mm-hmm. About life and things that, we may have wanted to do and we never done. So what would you say to people who feel that they're just too old, or, they just can't learn a musical instrument? What would you say to those people? And look, and as you said, I'm gonna put your number on the screen.
Well, that's just it. Oh, let's go back to me wanting to play football, right? Mm-hmm. About 2 years ago, I called my mother and I said, "Thanks for making me get in the band, because I'm still playing music."
Right.
My football career would probably have been over. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it, you can play music. Go back. My dad played a gig the same week that he died.
Really?
He did. He had cancer of the esophagus, so it was barely hanging on, but he was able to play his horn. That within that week that he passed.
Wow.
From cancer, he played a gig, and he said, "Man, I'm feeling pretty good." After he played the gig, I might be able to do this. And then a few days later, he passed. So when the people say you can do this up until, and you're never too old to learn. And the thing about music, and I think I expressed this, that it's a language. No matter where you go in the world, you can perform with people. I was in Brazil, and we went to Brazil, and we went to a restaurant in Ipanema, area called Ipanema. And so I saw this band there. I saw their gig list. They won't break. And so I went to the musicians, and they speak in Portuguese. So I went ta da 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 da. They said yeah, because I saw girl, the Ipanema or something on their list. So I had my soprano sax with me, and I went and I played with them a whole set. After I played that one song, they said, "Oh no," and I stayed with them the whole set, because those Brazilian tunes, when you hear the stuff by Jobim and all those people, it just, you can feel where it's going. It's like the music kind of feel, you just feel. And so I played with them. We couldn't even speak together, and they bought me drinks and all kinds of stuff. I'm telling you, it was like, so we walked down the street in Ipanema, in that area, and go to the beach.
Wow.
Where they said the girl from Ipanema was walking down the beach, right? So we go to the beach. It's a guy playing the guitar, and it's some lady sitting on a blanket on the beach. And this is nighttime. Mm-hmm. And so the guy playing the guitar, I take my horn out right there at the beach, and Keisha went and sat on a blanket, and they were passing drinks and stuff on the blanket. Mm-hmm. Me and this guy couldn't even talk, but we played. We sat there and played together. Wow. Yeah, so different places. I like bringing the horn. Went to I've done it in Greece. I've done it went to Ghana, West Africa. Played with, they were playing tunes. They were playing jazz standards. I mean, it was great musicians. I talked to this piano player. I mean, he killing. And I said, hey man, how long you say piano? Oh, I play piano, man. He said, but I'm an engineer. I was like, what? Yeah, an engineer. The difference was that they had about 10 percussionists playing, all
Mm-hmm.
kind of shakers and all kind of drums and stuff. So you had this real thick stuff going on with the rhythm in West Africa. But I got a chance to play in those different places. Like I said, in some other places you cannot speak, but you can perform the music, and it's
But it's the universal language.
yeah. And I want to keep traveling and going to play and do stuff in different places. Because one of my goals was I wanted music to take me around the world, and so far it's taken me to a lot of different places. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
grateful and thankful for that.
Yeah. One place it took you was to travel with Sugarfoot and the Ohio Players. So let's talk about that. Tell us about that in that situation that you found yourself in with playing with them. How did that come about?
I had a couple of friends, Calvin Loatman and Earl Fleming, and they had met with Sugarfoot, and Sugarfoot had some health issues, and once he got better and stuff, they were like, he's like, man, I want to get out on tour, so I want to play. So Calvin Loatman, guitar player, called me after meeting. He said, hey man, we're gonna meet with Sugarfoot and we want to play and do that kind of thing. I said, okay. So he basically said the Ohio Players would be getting together to do something. And I said, okay. So we meet at this place and we're playing and everything. And in walks Sugarfoot. I'm thinking, Sugarfoot, ow, girl, And yeah, so we were at a vocal rehearsal and I had just for some, I don't know why, but before Calvin called me, I learned the sax solo to Sweet Sticky Thing.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And his saxophone all through that song. And I always liked this. I want to learn that solo. So I pulled out my alto. I didn't even have a working alto at the time. So I pulled this alto out and I learned. So I'm over at the vocal rehearsal they were going over, and I played the solo. He said, hey, man. He said, you played the solo like the record. I said, yeah. He said, Satch, who was the original guy that played, he said, Satch wouldn't even play it like the record when we toured, and he played it. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, look, I'm going to put you over the horns. I said, you put me over? I'm thinking, okay, dude. All right. So I contacted a friend of mine at North Carolina NT, at NCAT, Dr. John Henry. I said, hey, John, man, I got this heavy duty task, man. I'm going to be playing with Sugarfoot and the Ohio Players. But I need some charts, man, because I got some horn sections. So John, he wrote out some of the songs for me for a 3-piece horn section: trumpet, sax, trombone.
Okay.
He wrote some of them out. I think it might have been Fire he wrote out, and another like Hoochie Coo.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Hoochie Coo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's an intense horn thing going on. A lot of the Ohio Players' music had to, and some of it I was able to scribble out with the guys, and we scribbled out the horn parts and learn the rest by ear and that kind of thing. But we went out and played those songs, and let me tell you, they never got old because these songs still stand up today.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start going over the hits, I remember being like going to a dance at the Y in my hometown and doing the bump to Skin Tight, Skin Tight.
Yeah.
And I remember the first gig, I'm sitting on stage. I was like, man, I'm sitting up here with Sugarfoot, man, Skin Tight, singing back and playing my horn, right? So we get out there, and our first performance was here in Atlanta.
Okay.
We did another performance when we went to Houston. And I'll tell you, remember us talking about being nervous in front of people we know.
Yeah.
Houston, I'm close to home. We're at this place. The Arena Theater is a theater. Once you're on the stage, the stage just turns real slow.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole place is in the round. So you got people all around you, but the stage spins really slow. And I'm out there, and my classmates are sitting out there from high school and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I got to play in front of these folks. But it was a lot of fun. And after a while, we playing weekend after weekend. We were Masters of Funk. We're doing this. Start playing with a bunch of other groups that I grew up listening to their records. Confunction, Barcades, Slave, Daz Band.
Wow.
Brick. And the list goes on and on and on. These guys, and we meeting each other and seeing each other at shows constantly. Great experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You. I remember being with you at the Jazz and Gumbo,
Okay.
and we came one night, and you had some greats sitting in your house playing. I think one was a singer, and one, I think, a gentleman played. I want to say keys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Earl, that must have been Earl. But one night, yeah, I know we had Carmen Bradford, who sings with the Count Basie Orchestra.
Yeah, that was her. That was
Carmen,
her. Yes.
she performs all over too. She goes, and I think she's also an instructor at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music.
Oh,
And she's
wow.
performed with so many. I mean, she's out there. Yeah. Little story about that. Carmen, when I first meet her, she's at the house and we sitting there and we talking. And I put on some Basie because I had this Count Basie CD I listened to all the time with Basie's hits and stuff. And the song comes on. She said, "That's me singing." I was like, and I read it, it's her. And I'm thinking,
Oh my God.
all this time I've been listening to this stuff. Because she started singing with Basie when she was pretty young. So
Wow.
my cousin knew her from California, and she moved here to the Atlanta area. And I got a chance to meet Carmen and good friends. And whenever we got some gumbo or something, I got Carmen. We got that.
Yes.
Got that gumbo. She comes on through. But yeah, it's really cool. But and I've seen her perform with Doc Severinsen, like at the Cobb Energy Center and places like that.
Mm-hmm.
With him, and I was like, golly, to stand in front of all those horns and all that stuff and light it up, she does it. She does it. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your when you write music. Can you discuss your creative process that you use when writing music?
Yeah, it comes different ways. Sometimes late at night. Late at night, I get a loop, something that loops in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when that used to happen. Sometimes I was too lazy to get up. I don't want to get up. So I would run down to my basement where I had recording equipment. I cut a mic on, and hum it into the recording equipment until I got, and then I started having a small little cassette. Remember those little,
right.
I would hum it into that little cassette player. And then later, our phones now, I get ideas and I hum it in there to know and remember what I did. Sometimes I'll even pull out a guitar or something because not much of a keyboard player, but I can play the chords on guitar and write. So when I'm playing music or if I'm writing a song, the different chordal structures they have different meaning to me.
Okay.
And I know we've talked about major and minor, and when you're doing the lessons, happy is major, minor is sad.
Yeah.
But then there's also extensions of that, like, can I play?
Yes, you can.
So, like if I'm playing, that's a major 9. That's a beautiful chord. Well, I can play it. That's a D major. Or I can play a D major 7. Or I can play a D major 9. Or I can play like a 9th chord out of that same. So that same note, D, all of these different chords. And then you have your diminished chords. And that makes you think, oh, something's getting ready to happen. Like, right? And then I have, other chords that kind of give you just a feeling, or like a sus chord, like. And it's wanting to resolve to a.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the new frontier for me is I've been working and trying to get my vocals thing together.
Okay, we're gonna get some singing.
Yeah. Well, you're not gonna get none tonight, but.
So let me ask you this. So, I think it was was last year when we did the workshop, right? So in the heat of COVID, you know, we all had to go virtual, and you had three music students. It was me and two others, and you were doing virtual lessons, right? And then we got together and did the workshop, right? And that was so much fun because let's talk about the difference in practicing and playing live, right? Okay. There's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. So let's talk about the difference in being in this one setting versus taking what you've learned there and playing live with it. It's two totally different environments.
And the best way to overcome that environment is being well rehearsed is one. But when you sit down and you stay in your room practicing, I'm just working on this, a scale, I'm working on different things that I'm working on. When you get in front of people, yeah, it does change. Just the whole, you know, just getting on stage in front of people. It makes it a totally different experience. And sometimes, you know, what you've been practicing, it doesn't come out. But you keep working at it and you get in front of other audiences. Next thing you know, oh, I got it now, you know.
Right.
Some things that you're trying to overcome. So yeah, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, because what I experience is sometimes that, you know, you can practice a song one way, but when you take that song and you put it in a live setting, you know, I call it going left, right? I've been used to tell you that, right? You know, it goes left, right? And you just got to be ready when it goes left. And then the other thing I learned about playing live was there's signals. The signals. Remember, we laughed about that because the first time I played live, I didn't.
Somebody got to be the MD, the music director. Somebody's gonna direct you, tell you when to go to the bridge, when to go to the change. All right, because like let's say somebody's up soloing or singer singing, and they want to go to the B section or to the chorus, you know. Or James used to say, "Give me the bridge," you know, and then they go.
Right.
Yeah, and see songs like that back in the day had an A section, B section, and then your C section was a bridge. The bridge is gonna take you maybe back to the A or B, right? But a lot of songs don't really have that now. They just kind of have a vamp, or what they call just a straight. But yeah, somebody's got to direct the situation. But the best thing to do is use your ears. Listen. When we gonna change, and you know, somebody will walk you into it. Sometimes the bass player, no, you know. Sometimes it's the drummer, you know. So somebody's gonna take you to that next phase, that next step. So you have to just be listening, or somebody that can be the MD or the music director that's gonna take the song where it needs to go.
Right. Well, from my experience, before you play live, somebody tell you at least a few of the cues. That was so funny. I asked you, remember I came to you and I asked you, he said, go to the vamp. What is that? And you were like, my bad. I forgot to teach you.
It's a vamp, yeah. The vamp is just play that same thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah, but if he would have said repeat, I would have known what he meant, right?
Yeah.
But
vamp. Yeah. Well, look, there was a bass player. I remember this one band called the Masters of Sound that was in, you know, around my hometown, and I wound up playing with him. But I remember hearing the story about this bass player. He was just on the gig for one night taking the other guy's place, and so the leader of the band was a sax player, and he told the bass player. They were playing a song, Satin Doll, I think. Da. So he told him, walk. Bass player started walking. You know, he wanted to start walking the bass, right? You know, the dude started just walking up front and back, right? Yeah. He didn't know what, you know, I'm talking about communication.
I'm laughing because
He said, whoa.
Can we go get
Dude, he started moving forward, walking.
Look. So for those of you, this is what our music lessons are like. This is how our classes are. So let me ask ask you this. So you have produced quite a few projects. Out of the projects that you have produced, the albums or the CDs that you have produced, which one is the dearest to you and why?
Wow, because you know when I write songs and I do songs, they're kind of like my babies or something. Like that's my little creation. It's my little Frankenstein. Uh, so on different projects, I have songs that I really like, and different parts of it, maybe just a section. But Journey, when I did the Journey CD, I started putting together some things, and I got encouraged to dig a little deeper. And so I did, and it got that project done. So I have probably more tunes on the Journey CD.
Okay.
That probably I like. Now my first project, I still like playing those songs because it meant so much. Each song had a real story too behind it. Yeah, it just kind of helped me tell stories. Like you mentioned, you went to see somebody recently, and he was able to tell stories. I can do that about those songs. They have stories. And they have meaning. But yeah, I would say the Journey CD.
The Journey CD.
Yeah.
So, what do you like most about being a music teacher?
About music teacher?
Yeah, because you've taught music. Let me just say, because you've taught music in different places, in music and arts, and all these other places. But what do you really like about teaching music to people?
I really like when that light bulb cuts on. When you see a person get it. Like I was teaching today, and I had a young man who's playing guitar. So it's not, but it's treble clef, right? So like you have that all cows eat grass and
good boys do fine always.
Yeah. Now for treble clef, it's every good boy does fine.
Okay.
And it's FACE for the spaces.
Okay.
And he was confused. I say, well, no, what's the first line? He said, I don't know if I'm getting this. But when he got it today, I could see the light bulb. He said, I got it. So I said, what's the third space? He said, it's a C. That's a C. I was like, hey, all right, I see it. So seeing that light bulb cuts on, I know that I've been able to introduce that person into, something that's going to help them, on the journey, just on the journey.
Yeah.
I'm connecting them to the, that's all.
Yeah. So far you have, I've been able to be connected with a very encouraging and positive environment of people. Yeah. And I think that makes a difference because, in anything, I'm sure that, the music industry can be discouraging and disheartening at times.
Yeah, right? But it's just like, it's funny because even Biden was saying today on the news, he was saying, certainly today, Russians, we're not against you at all. We don't want to, we don't want to hurt any of you Russians. He was talking like that. So the musicians, but sometimes the people that were in executive positions and all that, so the musicians are cool, but the people who handle the money and everything else, that can get kind of tricky. And, and it's just like a family when you meet musicians because everybody's trying to make it. And like the group in Roland Beard and Dexter and all them guys. Yeah, they're gonna be family. They're gonna make sure you're all right.
Yeah, they're a good group of people.
Yeah. Well, all those guys.
Yeah. If you could change one thing about the music industry, what would it be?
It's a couple of things.
Okay, give them to us.
It's a couple. Sometimes I don't think music is as appreciated as maybe some other forms of, and I'm not going to say just entertainment, but other forms of work and things like that. Because, a musician may go out and they say, well, you playing, you just having fun. But they never realize how many hours you spent in that room trying to figure that out, Or I get called for something as simple as playing at a wedding. and they say, I want you to play this song. I was like, I've never heard that song. But
Yeah.
your wedding, I'll have it. And I
Mm-hmm.
rehearsed that song. And so when you say, I spent time on this song, it's maybe not appreciated.
Right.
Because people say, I don't want to pay you to do that. You're having fun.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this though, Derwin, because let's just take Frankie Beverly and Mays, for example,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So I have gone to see them live,
Yeah.
right? And as a fan
Mm-hmm.
in the audience, they just make it look easy. I mean, they get on the stage and they play, right?
Yeah.
And you enjoying the music and the hits. I think you don't really think about the time and everything that they put into getting to the stage so that you can enjoy yourself. But now that I'm studying music,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I totally look at it differently, right?
Yeah.
Because I see the behind the scenes and I see the hard work and diligence that musicians put in to practice. I mean, just even playing with Dexter,
Yeah.
there's a lot of practice and stuff that goes into him and getting the band together and then rehearsing songs and what playlist are we going to play today. And there's a lot of preparation that goes into what we see as fans.
Well,
And I think that they, that's why I think it's probably it's probably not as appreciated because people don't really think about that.
Look at a show like you said, Frankie Beverly. But before we would go out and start touring, every year we might meet 8 hours a day, 10 hours, maybe 12 hours a day for a solid week, 7 days, and rehearse to get the show together.
Right.
We want people to come out and enjoy a show.
Mm-hmm.
But think about a Broadway musical. Another thing too is musicians, when a person goes into a situation like a stage actor or in a movie, they can play all kind of characters. And then they walk away and just like it's not a big deal. But with musicians, whatever you do on stage kind of sticks with you as a musician.
Yeah.
You remember hearing Beyonce say when she gets on stage, she's Sasha Fierce?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And what she was saying is if it was a Broadway musical and my character was Sasha Fierce, I'd go and play Sasha Fierce. When I walk on stage, I'm Beyonce again.
Well, Michael Jackson was the same way, right? And so is Janet. Because if you see their documentaries, it's almost like you transform into somebody different. And little bitty old me can understand that.
Yeah.
Because when I'm playing live, it's hard to explain. It's just a feeling that comes over you.
Exactly.
And I don't think it's not necessarily that you're thinking I'm going to transform into another person. I think that you're just so into the environment and the moment, right? That you just feel like I don't know how to explain it. You just feel like you're metamorphosing into somebody different, right?
Yes.
And then after you play, you come back and you're like, oh, it's almost like an out of body experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. It just you remember with Jordan talking about I shot the ball, the basket just seemed like it was this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. That happens playing music too. You go into a zone.
A zone. There you go. Yeah.
A zone.
And
so those are the kind of things that happens. And I think I got bit long ago when I was a little kid, and I got bit by the music bug, and it's just something that I want to do. And even if my arm got chopped off, I'd find a way to play a cowbell or something. I just got to be.
Hey, it's just in you. But I think that once you start down that road, I think that it opens up your eyes to look at the music industry and music overall. Totally different. I told you I saw the Quincy Jones documentary, Quincy. I think it was Q or Quincy. And he said that it is one part in the movie that I'll never forget. Because he said it's been over 700 years of dealing with 12 notes. All of this comes from
Well,
12 notes. And the person he was talking to, there was a pause,
mhm.
because the person was like, 12 notes.
Yeah, yeah. And if you take the sharps and flats out, you got 7 notes.
Yeah, if you take the shots and flats, you got 7 right. And I think that is so amazing. But let me ask you this. Do you think that there's a link between ethics and music?
A link between the ethics and music. So when you say ethics, though, tell me, you mean it more like what's ethically right? I mean, with
Yes,
with language,
yes,
stuff like
yes, 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 yes.
yeah, I think music can be done without some of the vulgarities and stuff like that. But all these different forms of music, even like, even with the headbanger stuff where they just going, it has
Hmm.
a place. There's a place for
Right,
it. Now, I may not go to that place much, but somebody does and they like it.
right.
And if they like it, I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had one musician that said, when I asked him the question, he was saying about that, we have to um, sometimes take responsibility for that we are um, producing, right?
Well, think
Because
about I don't want
because
to,
all music is a spirit,
but yeah,
right?
think about this though. What is Jaws without music? The movie Jaws.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that whole movie was music. The music really made the
If
movie,
if you didn't have the music, it'd be just a fish swimming in the water.
right?
But with that boom, 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 it gave you. It really. It caused you to feel something. If
Hmm.
not, you just see a fish swimming. You know.
Hmm.
So the music is what drove that. So that's what I'm saying. All these different forms of music can bring out different feelings and things like that. And and I gotta say, like for me, being able to play and perform, and I got my 3 sons, I made sure that they were in music. I wanted them to be in so they could understand. Even if you don't keep performing, you at
Right,
least understand what it takes for these people to do what they do.
right. You'll appreciate it.
To have the appreciation, and I
Hmm.
have to say thank for my family. I've been able to travel and play and do stuff with, Keisha. She helps me do stuff and been very supportive all through our marriage, me playing and doing stuff. And she sings too, she's
Yes, she does. She's a great singer.
mm,
Very beautiful voice.
yeah. Um, so it just the appreciation for it, because I know people that say, music, it don't mean nothing. But no, it does. It can take you from a gloomy day to a sunny day.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a form of expression too, right? Because just like you were talking about the headbangers and you have the rappers, I
Yeah,
think that's just how they choose to express themselves,
yeah,
right? That's their form of their musical form of expression, if I can
right.
say it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, but that's pretty much my interpretation of that, music and the ethics of it and that kind of thing.
Well, we're almost at the end of the show. And so I want to ask you, what would you like, any words that you would like to leave the viewers on tonight? Any words of encouragement or any information? What if someone wants to contact you to do? Oh, let me tell you, he does corporate, he does weddings, he does bar mitzvahs, he does it all. So if anybody wanted to contact you with your information that's strolling on the bottom of the screen, what's the best way to contact you?
Any one of those would be fine.
Okay.
With my email address, you know, they call me by phone too. I mean, either way is fine too. Uh, but any of those, it works, and things are starting to open up. So I'm starting to
Yeah.
book the calendar. Calendar's starting to fill up. I'm doing a couple this weekend, and hopefully we start just keeping them rolling. March has got some gigs, and so with COVID, I think it's opening up for us, and that's what I'm looking forward to, getting out playing, because I enjoyed it, and hopefully I can bring enjoyment to people too.
Right. Exactly. Now, one thing I just remembered before we go,
Okay.
let's talk about the Rockdale County Arts Council.
Yeah, with the Council of the Arts, they voted me a
Let's talk
couple of weeks
about
ago.
that. Let's tell them
I'm
about that.
I'm president of the Conyers Rockdale CRCA, Conyers Rockdale Council for the Arts. And in our county here in Rockdale and the Conyers area, I'm really wanting to get us some programming in because things are opening up, and I really want us to be able to, because a community that has arts flourishing, that community flourishes. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have just not just music, but art and poetry, spoken word, just all different forms of art. It really helps to bring the community forward. So thanks for bringing that up. And Shelly Siebert, over the executive director, I'm working close with her, and we're going to get some good stuff going here with the Council for the Arts.
I am so thankful that you are now the president.
Oh yeah. We're gonna get it.
We can do another workshop. Oh, that workshop was so much fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, March 13th. I got one scheduled for us.
Oh, you did get it.
March 13th.
Okay, so March 13th is gonna be our next workshop.
Yep, we're gonna do a workshop and it's gonna turn into a jam session. So we're gonna have other musicians coming through. Yeah.
I cannot wait. I thought it was that first workshop was so much fun because you partnered the student with a professional that you knew. Mm-hmm. And now Roland, being I have a music teacher and I have a mentor. There so now I have Roland, and I wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for the workshop. So I am just so happy that I met him. We talk at least once a week.
Good, yeah. A good, great bass player. Tell you things I can't tell you.
But you're not getting rid of me. You hear me? You're not getting rid of me. I don't care. You have been the best music teacher, Derwin, because you have not just taught me notes. You've taught me about your life experiences, and you've really encouraged me to really stretch, right? Musically, but stretch myself as a person. And I just want to on air tell you thank you to the bottom of my heart. The other thing that you did for me was, you allowed me to have my recital when I'm about to tear up. You allowed my son to come home from the military and my daughter to come home from school. And we planned the recital so that they could be there in person. And that meant the world to me because all they knew is that I had lost my mind and I went and bought a guitar. But they saw me play. They could not believe I could actually play.
You were killing it, though. You were killing it. You sounded great.
So thank you so much. And I look forward to growing with you as a musician and as a person and as a friend. And I really appreciate our friendship, our family's friendship. And I just wish you, Godspeed and just for him to just shower you with his blessings. I really do, Derwin.
Well, thank you, Tina. Thanks for having me on your True Blue Designs inside perspective. I appreciate it.
Look, and when you call me and say, hey, we're going to Hawaii, I'm there.
All right.
Out.
You ready to put this gig? Let's move. Let's do it.
You stay on, Derwin. We're going to end the show. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Our guest tonight, I just had so much fun. Our guest tonight was Derwin Daniels. He's a recording artist with Paradygm Records, and he is my music teacher. He is so special to me, and I just wanted to, I've been trying to get him on for a year, and I just wanted to introduce him and let him tell you his inside perspective of music. So we will be here next Wednesday, same time, same place. Derwin, you hold on. Good night, everybody. Wow.